Oh, yeah, I've got a little thing saying. Yeah, recording in progress.
Hello, everyone. It's Bronnie here again for another day in Bronnie's world. And it's Mindset Monday, so it's the 5th of December 2022. And I have a special guest with me. He's got his hand in the way, so he just wants you to see who he is. my good friend, Grant McGuinness, as in the drink. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. That's spelled 2 N's, 2 S's. Yep.
Guinness.
McGuinness, yeah. MCG, UI, 2 N's, 2 S's. Yep. Double S.
And look, guys, I've known Grant now for a couple of years, or maybe not quite. It'd be about 2 years, and we've done a few things together. We are both certified holistic health coaches, and Grant has been through a lot. Now, I'm not going to tell you his story because I want him to tell you his story so you can get to know him. But he lives in Sydney, Australia, not Sydney anywhere else. And it's a gorgeous day where I am, and it's a gorgeous day where he is. So we're both sitting outside showing you that you can do this business from anywhere, inside, outside, Sydney, up in the bush where I am, the other side of the world, it doesn't matter. Well, without any further ado, I'm going to hand the floor over to my dear friend Grant, and he can tell you his story, and we will have a little chat with him and get to know a little bit about Grant. So take it away, Grant. It's all yours.
G'day, Bronnie. Before I start, I would really like to say that I watched your interview with Dr. Wallach this morning because I didn't have a chance before, and it was the best interview I've seen. I've studied that man for years now, and I found out things on that interview that I didn't know. I didn't know that he started treating kids with nutrition when he was 10 years old. I didn't know that. I knew about his eyes. I knew about his dyslexia. I'm not dyslexia.
Tourette's.
Tourette syndrome. I knew all that, but you were able to get to him. You did exceptionally well. And if anyone's out there watching it, it's an interview that you just have to watch. It was just fantastic because I'm used to him putting out his doctrine and telling us what to do, but you actually talked to him as a man, and it was just wonderful.
And we connected
because really
we both farm kids.
We're both farm kids, both from the dairy, both dairy farm kids. So yeah, and you related to him exceptionally well, and I think that's why he's taken you under his wing, because he's recognised that as well. You are a very good interviewer.
Oh, well, thank you, Grant. I actually learned a lot from him myself.
You do what?
I learned a lot that day myself from him.
Yes, well, I've read most of his books, and there was things there I didn't know. Yeah. Anyway, back to my story. But that was an exceptionally good interview. If anyone's out there watching it, just beg, borrow, or steal, or try and get to it. I'll put it up on I have a Facebook group. I put it up on my Facebook group. It's up there this morning, and I was blown away by it. Anyway.
Well, thank you. And it'll go up on my YouTube channel. It's just taking me ages to upload all these. So, guys, while Grant has brought that point up, if you want to see any of the interviews I've done, I am slowly getting them on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, which is just Bronwyn Clinton. So it's easy to find. You just have to put my name in and you will see them all. Now, just if the ones you want to see aren't there yet, be patient. My internet is really slow, so it takes a while for them to go up. But they're getting there. I'm getting there. And Grant's will go there too. So back over to you, Grant. Thank you for that.
Well, make sure you put that interview up. If you put nothing else up, put that one. That was a good interview.
It's really definitely going up. Doc's actually already asking me for the link.
All right. Anyway, back to my story. My story is I was a professional soldier. I was a martial arts coach, student coach. And I would, what most people would consider exceptionally fit. I remember being in a race with 300 civilians, and I'd never thought I was all that good a runner. And I came second, and I was gaining on the first bloke. It was up a hill, but I would have beaten him easily. But I didn't realise I was that good, so I didn't. I started at the back of the pack, and I didn't. I took it pretty casual, so I was fit. And my world came to an end when I was 56, as predicted by Dr. Wallach. Exceptionally athletes, the average age of death of an athlete is 56.2 or something. And I was 56, and I had a small lump on my neck. And then it didn't worry me too much until I got a phone call from the doctor. She said, "Do you want to come in?" And it was the doctor herself, not a receptionist. "And do you want to bring your wife, Jenny?" And I went, "Oh, shit." And then I was meant to be working the rest of the day, and I couldn't work. So I just went in, and then while she was in there, I was told that it was throat cancer. And I'm a stage 3 throat cancer. I'm exceptionally fit, non-smoker, always health conscious. I didn't smoke at all. So the last thing I expected to get was throat cancer. Anyway, that progressed into oncologists and meetings, and I thought I had a death sentence. And for most people in my position, it is a death sentence. Today I'm a long way from dead.
Thank goodness for that.
As Bronnie knows, I can do 100 push-ups without breathing, which blows most people out of the water, even the young blokes, because they try and they get to about 25. But yeah, I can do 100. But when I spoke to my oncologist, they gave me all sorts of stupid reasons that made no sense at all as to why I got cancer. And it didn't make. And I just thought they just took me out of not this end, the other end. And I started thinking, this is the first time in my whole life that I'd started to question the system. I'd been a soldier. I did what I was told. I learned. I believed what I was told. I did everything. I was fit. Exercise was good. I never questioned anything. Then I went, no, that's hogwash. So I started looking, and I didn't like the idea of dying either. That inspired me a little bit.
Yeah,
anyway,
as it does, hey.
Yeah,
Most people.
I actually created the Facebook group called the Warrior Immune System, and I mucked around with all sorts of stuff. And I finally, in my cruising of the internet, I bumped into this little talk called "Dead Doctors Don't Lie" by a doctor, Joel Wallach. And for the life of me, I've never heard of it before. And like, it's the most famous talk on the internet, but I'd never noticed it. I don't know. No one ever showed it to me. I didn't know who he was. And I listened to it and I thought, oh my God. Oh, gets me emotional thinking about it, really. That's it. That's why I got throat cancer. I got throat cancer because I was exceptionally fit, because I ate the 10 bad foods, thinking they were good foods, because I was gluten intolerant and had no idea I was gluten intolerant, because I never supplemented. Everything, you just ticked it off. And I went, oh shit. And I read it and I listened to it. I listened to it 3 times in the one go, I think. I read most of his books. I bought most of his books. I download them. I reference them all the time. So yeah, that's me and Dr. Wallach, and I actually got to thank him a few months ago personally. And I'm not a big crier, but right then, because I'm a long way from dead now. But if it wasn't for him, I would have joined the others. I would have been gone. And because I've actually applied what he's done as much as I could. I would have liked to have applied more. It's a finance thing, convincing family members and stuff like that. But I'm convinced that if I hadn't have bumped into that.
Oh, lost the sound there for a minute, Grant.
So yeah, that's where my story started, and I've been reading I've read most of his books. I've got them. I'm as Bronnie knows, I'm forever correcting people on different mistakes that they make every now and again, because I'm pretty good like that. I don't think I've corrected you too much, Bronnie, but I've corrected a couple of others. I say so.
Well, I don't get it right all the time. I mess that up, and we all do. It's a learning process all the time. you think you're doing the right thing, and then you realize, oh wait, no, I'm not. And you've got to be so careful with the gluten thing, don't you, Grant?
You do, yeah, you do, yeah.
You think, but I haven't eaten any gluten. I haven't been around it. Or, well, actually, it's really hard not to be around it because it's in so many things that,
As
shampoos and body washes, and
it's almost impossible to avoid it. But what my biggest mistake really, and it was far bigger than the gluten, and Dr. Wallach talked about it, is that I'd put myself I know why, but I'd put myself on a low salt diet. So I didn't have salt. As a consequence, I had, every now and again, I used to get stomach cramps. I'd get cramps in the muscle, but stomach cramps are the ones that really got me. They'd have me doubled up in pain, and I couldn't barely stand up. But that was a short-term thing. But the long-term incidences is that I'd weakened the stomach acid in my stomach. So salt, NaCl plus water, H2O, makes hydrochloric acid, which is basically stomach acid, HCl. Not having enough salt in my diet, I didn't have strong stomach acid. And I used to burp and fart and carry on, but it weakened my stomach acid, and the long term, I couldn't break down the gluten very well, and I think when I was younger I could, but when I got older I couldn't. So at 56, which is about when Dr. Wallach says that a lot of people go downhill very quickly, because that's about the time the gluten sort of filled up the villi in my little system. I went down badly, and bang, and I went down. I went from very fit to very unfit within a week. It was, but the cancer didn't bother me much at all. But the treatment knocked me around. I've lost 10 teeth from the radiation, and I've got an extra belly button in my stomach from a peg. And at one stage there, I had trouble walking up my own driveway, which was not that bad. It's just over there. So yeah. So did the cancer knock me around? I didn't even feel the cancer, but the treatment certainly didn't. I'm not going back. The oncologist just told me it wouldn't work a second time anyway, but that was 11 years ago, and I'm a long way from dead today, so I'm not planning on going back there anytime soon.
Well, that's good, and because I presume you're taking all your 90 essential nutrients and minerals every day, and maybe adding.
Yeah, I do.
Did you add extra to your protocol? That
look, I'd love to. What
was the protocol that Dr. Wallach suggested? Whether you took it all or not, that's another thing. I think my viewers would be interested in the protocol that he would recommend.
Look, I take everything he asked me to take. I take, but I have a lot of trouble convincing families. So I'm on about half rations, if you like. So I'm on enough for a 100-pound person, and I'm about a 170-pound person, or I'm on enough for a 45-kilo person, and I'm about 78 or something, 78 kilos. So I should be taking more than I am, which is what's held me back a little bit. But I take exactly what he wants, which is, I always base everything on the Healthy Body, Brain and Heart Pack, and then add things to it. So I've got the Healthy Body, Brain and Heart Pack. Then I've added the glucogel and the MSM and the gluten collagen peptides, and extra selenium, because I don't like dying from cancer. What's the other one I've got? Glucogel. And, I've got something else, a couple of other things, and I'll put in there, and
so
I have
that's it for the brain memory.
Yeah, well, here it is here. Where can you see it? My little bottle, and I make it. I put it all in the one. I put all the liquid stuff in the one bottle. So I've got in there. I've got the minerals, the collagen peptides, the tangy tangerine, and the OsteoFX in there, and I suck on it. Oh, one other thing. I had a particularly dry mouth after 35 radio sessions, which which was strong enough to blow 10 of my teeth out of my head. And so and people think you can just drink water, but as a dry mouth, you can't. Doesn't do anything for a dry mouth.
Mm.
And I had all sorts of other stuff. And then I got on to, when I started taking this works, the tangy tangerine works. And it was lovely. So my family got to know me as, I had carried this bottle around with me, not this particular bottle, but a bottle like it with me everywhere I went for 8 years. And now I only have it in the fridge. And I can get by without it now. My mouth's not as dry as it was, but everywhere I went, I had this little bottle with me because I could suck on that, and it was just wonderful. So, for dry mouth, it's great, and not only is it relieve the dry mouth, but I knew the minerals and the nutrients and the amino acids and the fatty acids were doing wonders for my system as well, and away it goes. But yeah.
Well, I think
Everyone's got a
11
dry
years
mouth,
on,
this
your
is a great
family should realise that he's onto something
No,
here. It
my
works.
family just think I've got good genes. They just I don't know. My family just think I've got good genes. Yeah, they're amazing. Yeah. And then they go, heck, you look young, and I'm 67. And they go, oh, you look young. Oh, you got good genes. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're fit.
It's something that
Yeah,
people are
got good
conditioned,
genes.
aren't they?
Yeah, they got good genes, you know. And my oncologist would say, you know, your mental attitude is, you recovered so well. Yeah, okay, because you're a martial artist. Okay, all right. I know better martial artists than me that have gone down to this sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at all the top athletes who should be the fittest in the world just dropping dead.
Well, the average age
dropping
of
dead on the football field, dropping dead.
cardiomyopathy, which is a copper deficiency, they go down, or a stroke, which is a omega-3 deficiency, they go down with that too.
They just don't replace the nutrients and minerals. A lot of them don't even have them in their system at all in the first place.
I wander around. Every now and again, I get to speak to a young medical student, and they're, you know, got AA passes, the best in the school at chemistry. And I go, okay, you're the best in the school at chemistry, and you're a third-year medical student. Where do minerals come from? The ground. No. That's where you find them. Where are they made? They've always been there. Was that a religious answer? I go. They all come up with all sorts of toffle stuff that a primary school kid would come out of. And I go, no. I'll wait till that thing goes past.
I didn't hear
minerals. Sorry, minerals were made. The latest theory is about 15 billion years ago. We had a big bang, and the hydrogen that created a bunch of suns made of hydrogen, helium, a little bit of lithium. They blew up, and then we went further down the periodic table. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, freon. And they made more suns, and they blew up, and so on and so forth down the line. And we get to all the elements of the periodic table. That's what they first made. Then the space is filled up with meteors, and the meteors flew around, and some of them joined together and made other stars, and some of them joined together and made planets. So we've got a sort of you had to create the whole universe before you can create an apple pie. So it's taken 15 billion years to get to where we are now with our minerals. So you can't just sort of, no one in a lab, no one's got a lab that's going to make selenium. And there's only one electron difference between mercury and gold. And you think they haven't tried to turn mercury into gold? They can't do it. You'd have to create a sun and explode a sun to do that. So it can't be done. So that's where we are with our minerals. And so we're all made of stardust. But they're not even taught this at school. And these university blokes, and they when I was at school, they would have been in awe of these people's knowledge, but they couldn't tell me where minerals are made. And they can't tell me how much percentage mass is in an atom. And I go, and it's 0.0001 or something next to it's mostly energy. Like they don't know the base, they don't know where it's made, how heavy it is, how much mass is in it. I'm talking electrons and carbons and stuff. Sorry, I get excited, but the ignorance
okay.
the ignorance of these people is just astounds me. In a way.
Well, and we know though, Grant, if it's not in the ground, it can't even be in our foods. And,
Correct.
And minerals is something that our body can't produce. We have to put it in. And as Doc pointed out, and I think he pointed it out in my interview, what's in the ground where I live and what's in the ground where you live can be two completely different things.
Can be different in the one paddock. Because
exactly.
the minerals arrived by meteorites, and the meteorites just landed where they landed, and that's where they are. And when the Earth was hot, they all went into the middle, and we ended up with a pile of molten stuff in the middle. And that's why the dinosaurs. I haven't got out my dinosaur this time. I normally have a little dinosaur with me, my little brontosaurus.
You do.
I do, yeah. And that's how they were able to get. The brontosaurus was able, this is the long-necked dinosaur with a mouth the size of a horse, but the body the size of five large African elephants. And it wasn't that, and I worked out the other day that the brontosaurus can't eat 50 times faster than a horse. No, in the time of the dinosaur, there was a lot of volcanic activity, a lot of volcanic ash went up, and the volcanic ash landed, and so and then it got broken down by bacteria. So the soil in the time of the dinosaur was far more concentrated in minerals than it is today, way more. So the dinosaurs were eating a superfood of a really minerally rich food. They only needed to eat as much as a horse to get the size of five elephants, and that's how it is. But and every primary school kid can tell you that, but every primary school kid is told by the system that the dinosaurs were able to eat 60 times as fast as a horse. Like, really? I mean, that's just plain stupid. And
we won't go about the education department. It's
like, really?
It's teaching them crazy crap at the moment, I'm afraid.
But
not even the basics.
These are university kids, and they go, bloody hell, you can't put two and two together. Look, I will admit that I knew about hydrochloric acid and I knew about water when I was at school, but it never occurred to me to actually join the dots and make, well, what do we have strong stomach acid for? I just believe the doctrine that salt is bad, and I didn't actually sit down and go, what do we have stomach acid? Oh, we have stomach acid to break down food. Everyone knows that, but I still didn't put it together. And then that was one of the main reasons I got throat cancer. And I got throat cancer because of four main reasons, really. I didn't put salt in my food. I was exceptionally fit. I sweated a lot and gave up a lot of salt there. And I ate some of the 10 bad foods or 12 bad foods, particularly the wheat, barley, rye, and oats. And I didn't supplement in any way, shape, or form. Effectively supplement in any way, shape, or form. And I died. Well, I would have died at the age of 56, which is the average age of death of an athlete. So there you go.
Yeah, and talking about salt.
Yeah.
If salt wasn't important, then why is it in the Bible? Does God, talk about the salt of the earth?
Yeah. Well, it's celery. The word celery
that he talked about. Why would it be so important? And it is. And a lot of people who suffer from reflux is because they don't have enough salt in their diet.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. No, I was one of those. When I started a little bit of it, I don't get it anymore. And all you have to do is just put a bit of salt in your food. The word celery comes from a Latin word for salt allowance. So it's a salt allowance is the word. That's where the word celery comes from. So when anyone says they're on a celery, they're on a salt allowance, and that's how important salt was. Yes, we can't.
I remember asking Doc once, how do you know when you were having enough salt, or when enough salt enough? And his answer is when you feel that it tastes too salty. So, because
Correct.
everyone's different, everyone needs different levels amount of salt,
Yes.
particularly those who have deprived their bodies of salt for
Yep.
so long. And
Yep.
you know what? I was one of those ones who stupidly went down the road of not adding salt. And I thought, wow, you know, I'm really missing this. And I always knew every time I got cramps, I needed to get salt into me. And so now I
Yep.
enjoy my food again and putting the salt on. Himalayan, the pink Himalayan salt is the best. And
No. Sorry, I'll correct you on that. The actual salt from Utah, USA, not far from where our minerals come from, is probably the best.
Oh, okay.
So it's rock salt, but it comes from, it's a lot cheaper than Himalayan salt, but it's probably the best. So it comes from Utah, which is salt lakes in Utah, not far from where our minerals come from, and that's probably the best. It's got a better range of minerals. That's what Dr. Glidden prefers.
Okay.
So, but the Himalayan salt's not bad. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, and they all contain iodine. While we're talking about salt, most people would know that iodized salt, and the reason for iodine being put in salt, you probably know, but I'll elaborate on it anyway. About in the 1920s, a whole pile of people died from thyroid problems, and so about the 1950s, governments around the world made it compulsory for table salt to have iodine in it, and people stopped dying of iodide problems. Now, these days, you can get non-iodine, so they made it compulsory for table salt to have iodine. These days, you can buy non-iodized salt, or people don't have salt, and so we end up with thyroid problems all over the place. And when you have thyroid cancer, the first thing they do is they put in irradiated iodine into your system, or one of the things that they do. So the doctors know that iodine's a problem, but it would do away with an industry, a whole industry, if they just advise people to have salt and make sure it's some iodine.
I remember my dad, who's been gone 12 years now. Yep. I remember, because when we were growing up, you could buy salt with iodine in it and salt without. And he always made sure the salt we had was the iodized one.
Well done.
And,
well done.
My parents were farmers, dad a lifetime farmer, mum grew up in the city.
Yep.
But, I look back and I'm thinking they were smarter than the average bear, even though my dad only went to 6th grade. Because he was the eldest, and the eldest had to leave school and, run the dairy. And, and people, sometimes people used to laugh at them. And I know some of my family members still laugh at their crazy ideas, but you know what? They also laugh at Dr. Wallach's ideas as well.
I laugh at Dr. Wallach a lot. And Dr. Wallach's had up.
Yeah. I only wished that my mum had got to meet Dr. Wallach. This March coming will be 20 years since she passed. And before she passed, she was allergic to so many every pharmaceutical drug. It didn't matter. She could not convince the doctors otherwise. Yeah. And just before she passed, literally the Friday before, she had a massive stroke, which was on the Monday. She rang me up all excited. She said, I finally found a doctor in our town that was prepared to go the natural way. And sadly, she had a massive stroke on the Monday and never got to try anything. She would have loved Dr. Wallach. And, and I believe that she would still be here today, because if she was still alive today, she would have just turned 93. And because she was always hunting for a natural way, because she knew what was in the pharmaceutical drugs was just doing nothing for her. So anyway, but
my mother died at 56 from a doctor's mistake, really.
Yeah.
Worst day of my
life. Way too many people.
Yeah.
Die from medical negligence. It's one of the biggest killers.
I think it's the second biggest killer in America, really. But they don't advertise
around
that
the world.
Fact.
Our statistics are exactly the same as the US.
They don't advertise that fact very often, but it's the second biggest killer out there.
They don't.
They don't. In fact, they don't advertise the fact that they die 17 years younger than on average than the average bear, except for the baby doctors. What are the baby doctors called?
Pediatricians.
The pediatricians, yeah. They live a bit longer because they keep getting given supplements from supplement companies, and they keep scoffing them themselves rather than giving it to their clients, telling everybody that they don't do any good, and they live a bit longer. They live significantly longer than all the other doctors. Yeah. Interesting little fact.
It's quite sad, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but they will tell you that it doesn't work. But only really the way they know that it does work is that they're actually, they die as a trade significantly. They live longer as a trade than all the other doctors. So that's how it goes.
Well, as Doc Wallach says, once they're gone, you can't help them.
No.
And you don't. I don't want to see my loved ones or my friends pass away earlier than they need to. And I actually cry and pray for so many of my friends. I know that I can help them, but I know they're also not prepared to change their lifestyle, to supplement, to
2%.
get rid of the bad foods. They're just not prepared to do that.
We can only help 2%. 2% of the population. The others are gone. No matter how much you love them, they're gone. I mean, a simple thing. My big one is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease didn't exist 100 years ago.
No.
The first reported case was in 1906 by Dr. Alzheimer. It wasn't even talked to medical students in the 1960s. 1970s it took off, and now it's the second biggest killer of women over 75, and the third biggest killer of women over 75, and the fifth biggest killer of men. Do you know why I believe that Alzheimer's kills far more women than almost 2.2 times as many women over 75 than it does men? And you know why?
No, but I want you to tell me.
Okay. Well, I believe that Alzheimer's kills far more women than men because women are far better off at following the doctor's orders than men are.
That's true, because how many men actually willingly go to a doctor? Correct. I know my husband doesn't.
No. This husband doesn't either. I have to get forced into it. So the women go on the low salt diets. They have the statin drugs, and they eat the the low fatty foods and all that sort of stuff. Far better than men. We're not angels. We make our own mistakes, but as far as Alzheimer's disease, it kills 2.4, I think, 2.3 or 2.4 times as many women over 75 than men. And that's because the women are far better at following doctor's orders.
Which is quite
and to avoid Alzheimer's disease, all you have to do is put salt in your food, have 2 eggs a day. I have 4. Dr. Wallach has 6. And don't take statin drugs. And most assuredly don't take statin drugs, and don't get too worried about your cholesterol levels. Cholesterol levels are only an indicator of there's something going on.
And take your 90 essential nutrients every day. Add those minerals in.
Correct.
Your body can't produce minerals. You've got to add it.
Yeah. I got bitten by a dog, and then they checked my blood, and my cholesterol levels were through the roof. But I had septicemia, I had cellulitis in my arm, so my body was doing all sorts of stuff to repair itself, and I was in hospital and all sorts of stuff, and I went, no, my body was fixing itself, and I didn't pay any more attention than that to my doctor.
Yeah,
she wanted to put me on all sorts
because your body was doing what it needed to do to heal.
Yeah. Had my 4 eggs a day. She's having a lot of eggs. That's right.
And that was another big myth that they pushed on people, and they still push. I cannot believe they still push that.
Yep. Eggs are.
They're not just help your brain, for the man. It helps the man function.
You're talking about this sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
she knows what I'm talking about.
I was
Trying to put
trying
it
to be
politely.
diplomatic. You've got to
Yeah.
keep PG
Yeah.
rated.
Okay, yeah. Well, the sex hormones are made of cholesterol. That's what makes us, and it's the same effect on women. So if you're not getting any, give them a bit more eggs, and things might improve. The brain is made of myelin, which is basically cholesterol modified a little bit into a myelin. So all the grey matter is cholesterol. So the brain is 75 or 70% cholesterol. And once you go onto a low cholesterol, you drive your cholesterol into the ditch, you end up with a dried up prune for a brain, and you don't know what your wife's name is or who your kids are, like fair income. And all you have to do is eat eggs and not take statin drugs and have a bit of salt in your diet. Not do the opposite of what the doctors tell you to do. Like fair income. And it's the most profitable disease out there. $1 in $5 spent by the Medicare goes towards someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. And it's so easy to avoid, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And why would you not avoid it? I mean,
yeah. Well,
my parents, both of them, would always say, if my mind goes, I don't want to be here.
Oh, I'm the same. Yeah, I'm the same. I don't know who my kids are. My wife is. I don't think. But when I was a young bloke, I'd never heard of erectile dysfunction. I didn't know what it was. Like, it wasn't a big thing, but it's a big thing now. And it's because people are on low salt, low eggs, no eggs, low cholesterol diets. Like fair income.
Yeah, it's more common than what people realise.
Yeah, yeah, but it wasn't. I'd never heard of a lot of things when I was a young bloke, but autism. I never met an autistic kid, and now it's all over the place.
Yeah, and it all boils down to the lack of nutrients and minerals. Those 90 essential nutrients as the basics. You add from there.
You look at the photos of our predecessors around the time of the First World War, and they're all trim. None of them were fat, and that's because in those days there were a lot more minerals in the food that they were eating than there is today. So they didn't get high calorie, low nutrient diets. They had sort of a normal calorie nutrient diet, and they ended up being a normal weight, the weight that we're designed to be. Today, every second person's fat. Like some of them quite obese, but
and they use the ash. They use the ash from the stoves and stuff. They put it in their gardens and didn't realise how much good they. Well, actually, I think they did because
they thought it was good for growing plants.
I remember on the dairy farm.
They didn't know it was good for growing people as well.
Exactly. Well, I remember on the farm, we, sort of like we would burn off. They don't let you do it so much, but we'd burn off, especially on the roadside, and the cows would love it. They would go for it.
Salty
and
taste.
Milk became so rich whenever the cows had that ash from the burning off. And you can't tell me it didn't make a difference. It really did make a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, the wood ash was the catalyst that brought man out of the trees. Man was about 3 foot tall until such time as about 1.2 million years ago. We started cooking with fire. It took us a long time. In the early days, we had to find a fire, and then we just fed it. And then we got a little bit better, and then we would carry the fire a few hundred meters and feed it at a different spot and keep the fire going. And then we got a lot better, and we carried the fire from one place to another. And then when the Ice Age hit, the Neanderthals, they never learned how to make fire, but our ancestors did. And so our ancestors could actually make fire. It might have been difficult, it might have been hard, it might have taken a few of them, but they actually, if they put a few of the blokes would put their heads together, they actually worked it out. But the Neanderthals never did. So our ancestors were able to keep fire, kept them warm in the wintertime. And then they made the wood ash. And because they were dipping, if you like, their drumstick in the wood ash because of the salty taste, and they would eat it, that was a catalyst that gave them the minerals, because a gum tree or a tree here, this tree here, can pull up whatever minerals in the soil just the same as a carrot can. But we can eat the carrot, but we can't eat the tree. You burn the tree down, they burn the wood down, the minerals being made in stars, as I said before, up to 15 billion years ago, aren't affected by a forest fire, and they're still just as healthy. This is like a warm blanket for them. They're just quite there in the ash. Ash can be up to 75% minerals. It's a great form of mineral supplements. So that was the reason that made our ancestors big. And then we were nomadic, so we could go from area to area and pick up a bit of selenium here, a bit of chromium there, a bit of calcium from here, and away we went. And then once we started becoming farmers and we started in the one area, then our population expanded, but our health deteriorated a fair bit because we weren't getting the broad range of minerals. So if an area was just deficient in selenium, for instance, cancer would be rampant. If the area was mineral in copper, then people would look old and haggard, and they would die of a stroke. That sort of stuff. So that happened a fair bit.
Yeah. I mean, like you think about it, the volcanic ash.
Yes.
And round where active volcanoes are, and look, none of us like to see them erupt.
Yep.
Gosh, they put the minerals in that.
They do.
And the soil's so rich. So look, did you see that in Hawaii, the biggest active volcano erupted again a few days ago? Now I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of minerals.
Correct.
around there.
Well, as I said before,
it is at the time. It's feeding the earth back what it needs. God designed all this for a reason.
That's why
we're silly enough to live that close that it affects us. Then that's
It's got a good point and a bad points, but don't concentrate on the bad points. There are good points to a volcano as well. Without the volcanoes, we wouldn't be around. We would have died off years ago.
Exactly. Well, not far from where I live, just I can see it. We have.
Yeah.
It's not an active volcano, but it is a volcanic, whatever you call it. But it used to be active a long time ago, but it still made the soil around here. It's still quite rich considering.
Yeah. You grow potatoes.
Sorry?
In the area? Do you grow potatoes in the area, or is it just good soil?
Some people do, but it's mostly dairy. It's mostly dairy.
Okay, dairy.
Yeah. But sort of like the floods, like we try and grow our own veggies and stuff in our backyard, but every time we do the floods, the rain comes in our backyard, floods, and there they go again. Yeah,
well, I mean, you talked about the cows eating the wood ash, but the wood ash has a salty taste. That's why our ancestors had it. And our ancestors, 1.2 million years ago, they didn't understand minerals or any of that sort of stuff, but they knew they liked salt. And they just kept dunking in their drumstick, if you like, for the salty taste on their drumstick. And that was the thing that made them bigger. Their dinosaur sticks or whatever they were eating. But,
whatever they were eating.
Yeah, and so they got better. And it was the wood ash more than anything else that made man. And the Neanderthals had a hard time because they couldn't make fire. So they couldn't get the supplements that our Homo sapiens got. Although we did interbreed with the Neanderthals, and we're 2.4, I think, percent Neanderthal. So both you and I are 2.4% Neanderthal. That's where we get our blue eyes from and red hair.
Oh, is that right?
Like that. Yeah.
Well, I hadn't looked that deeply. I do have blue eyes, actually.
Yeah, I thought you did. Yeah. Mine are a hazel blue, and I've got two kids with green eyes.
Actually, my eyes actually change colour with the clothes that I wear. If I've got a lot of green on, they will actually change green. Or my husband says, when there's a deep love in my eyes, they turn green. That's what he.
That's only when you look at him.
I don't notice, because I notice if I've got green on, they will turn a green. If I've got a deep blue on, they will turn really deep blue.
So when you look at your husband, they go green.
He's in the background, and he said, when I'm really angry, they turn what? I'm not telling you. And he says, I'm not telling you. he's potting up some things, some plants there. There's fruit and stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Nice
It's
husband.
a bit noisy in the background, but anyway.
Yeah, well, not as noisy as the traffic out here. It's quiet at the moment. I'm in my front yard. Yeah.
Well, I'm in the backyard, so
yeah.
but I thought it was just too nice a day to be inside, and I know that people on the other side of the world
it's cold
love
over there.
seeing me in my backyard. They love seeing the Australian native bush and stuff. Well, I'm not sure it's so bushy here, but you've got the gum trees behind you, right?
Yeah, I've got. I think that's a pine from. It's a pine, but I think it's from Norfolk Island or something. It's a Norfolk Island pine, and we've got the gum trees. We've got the gum trees around me. They're all out there. But
they look like gum trees behind you. They don't look like pine trees.
Oh, I got a pine tree next to me. No, they're not gum trees. I'm not sure what they are.
Don't say.
I have to ask my wife. I'll have to ask my wife. She's the botanist. She understands what they are.
Yeah, well, my husband's the botanist. I just know what I love to see.
Yeah.
You asked me all the bionic names. Those names for them.
I'm not good on plants, and I'm not good on singers, but I am good
botanical names. There you go. See, I'm getting corrected already.
I'm not good on botanical names or plants, but I am good on minerals.
People say, "Oh, what's that rose called?" And I go, "No, I don't know. It's a rose. It's a red rose. It's a pink one. It's a blue one. It's a yellow one. It's a multi." But he can tell me.
People have written books about stuff I know nothing about.
But look, what is it Albert Einstein says? If you know where to find the information, why remember it?
Yeah.
You just got to remember where to find the information.
Yeah. I reference Dr. Wallach a lot and Dr. Glidden a lot. And pharmacist Ben Frisch, I like him too, so he's quite good. So they're my three. So there you go.
There you go.
We've had a little chat. How did we go?
I think we've done pretty well, Grant. Well, and I guess I should let you go because you probably.
I don't have to go anywhere, but I'm fine. I'm just quite enjoying the day. Really. Yeah. Well, my day I'm not out there doing work, so it's good.
Well, anyway, here in Bronnie's World, it's Mindset Monday. So if you could give a tip to our viewers of a Mindset Monday tip, what would you suggest?
Think about creating strong stomach acid. It will release the indigestion, heartburn tablets, all those sorts of things. It will be able to break down, because people still eat their bread, wheat, barley, rye, and oats, break down the long chain fatty acids, costs next to bugger all. And all you have to do is add a little bit of salt to taste to your food. Cost you $5 a year if you're really worried about expense. And if you can't afford that, well, just go to someplace and steal some salt. It's not that. Or ask your neighbour for some salt. It's not a big expense.
We don't encourage people to steal. Right.
Well, just ask your neighbour to borrow. Can I borrow a cup of salt? And that's probably the biggest thing you can do for your health. Just add salt to your food. There's lots of other things you can do if you want to go much better. See Bronnie and myself. If you want to go better than that, if you want to recover, it's not the bees all and end all, but it's certainly a great start, and it costs next to nothing.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Grant, for your time. I appreciate your time, even though we had a few issues at the beginning trying to get the.
We did, yeah.
But we got there. We got there in the end. It was great.
We did. I had to install a new system and everything, but anyway, got it.
Oh, look, the things we've had to do, and I'm here trying to find the mouse on my computer to even find the end record thing. Oh, look.
Oh, okay.
So before I do that, I'm trying. Gosh, where's it gone? Now that's
your
friends. That's
speech,
the last
by the way.
thing about being. That's the worst thing about being outside is I can't see anything.
Yeah, I know. A bit hard.
I know it's here somewhere. It's run away. Oh, seriously. We'll be here forever, guys.
You found
We're here in Bronnie's World. I always ask my viewers to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you are getting that salt back in your diet, you, my friends, will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. And when Bronnie can find the mouse where this pointer is, we will get out
Plus,
of here.
it might convince you that because the doctors are wrong about the salt, they might be wrong about something else as well. Medical doctors I'm talking about. Yes.
Exactly right. Well, anyway, guys, exactly. Just don't take everything that is gospel truth. Check it out.
Question the system. Question the system. The system is designed to make money. It's a medical treatment system. A medical treatment system only makes money when they're treating people.
Exactly. Right. Well, Grant, thank you. I have found my mouse.
Found your mouse. Good on you.
So I'm going to, we will say goodbye to all our viewers, and we'll see you again
Thanks,
tomorrow
Bronnie.
here in Bronnie's World.
You're an excellent interviewer. Thanks very much, Bronnie.
Oh,
bye.
Thank you. Hang on, don't run away. I've got to still get this to work. Oh, seriously. I'm pressing on the button. He doesn't love me.